All right, we are back on Twitch. But not on YouTube. Okay. All right, we're back live on Twitch. We're going to finish this out on Twitch and then go from there. And then I'll have to like splice it and do some jargon on YouTube. And I'll re-upload the video. We're still recording though, so we'll see where that goes. But as far as WWE and King Queen of the Ring, he tweeted out this yesterday stating, May 27 premium live event in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia will now be WWE Night of Champions. So WWE's next pay-per-view is going to be, well, not next pay-per-view, second to next pay-per-view. They got Backlash and then this one, Night of Champions. And PWU Insider has a little bit of a write-up as to why they have gone with the name change. PWU Insider reports. And let me see if I can pull this. Here we go. Okay. WWE has changed the name of King and Queen of the Ring in Saudi Arabia on 5/27 to Night of Champions. PWU Insider has confirmed with multiple sources. We are told that it was a creative choice to change the name, allowing WWE to revive the Night of Champions event for the first time in 8 years and bring it to an international market. Now, that can be taken a couple of different ways, as maybe they want this to be just an international title from going forward, like a show name that's only used for Saudi shows or Puerto Rico shows or Australia shows. So we'll see how that all does work out, but this was a creative change done to bring the name to an international market. And speaking of some other changes, apparently Vince McMahon is making some promo wording changes. Dave Meltzer did write in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, quote, McMahon is the one in charge of the company, so what he wants is what will happen. But at first, for now, the creative team is going to mostly be in charge. But at least for now, the creative team is going to mostly be in charge, except for whatever Vince wants. Time will tell how deep that will be, but when it comes to the top of the card stuff, ultimately, they are doing what he wants. But we do know of some minor things on the show, including promo wording, that were changed this week. So influence is there. We have started to hear again local medical facility on the last couple episodes of Raw and SmackDown. So Vince does have some influence there for sure. Another news note here has to do with Seth Rollins. We haven't seen Seth Rollins since the Raw after WrestleMania. And according to Freddie Prinze Jr. on his Wrestling with Freddie podcast, actually said from a fan's perspective there in the Crypto.com arena the Monday after WrestleMania, looked like Seth was not happy at all with what went down. As his co-host Jeff Dye first stated, quote, he played a commercial during his intro, and then we could kind of hear him have a little freak out on someone, production people. He was going, why is there a commercial? You couldn't really hear what he was saying, but you could just kind of tell he was mad. Freddie Prinze then joined in and stated, he said, what the hell is going on? I saw that come out of his mouth. I think he was more pissed than pissed at them. I think he was pissed when he went backstage at whoever did that. If I was him, I would have been just as angry. And I thought the way he dealt with it was so hardcore and awesome. Instead of cutting a promo, he just throws the mic out of the ring and walked out. And walked out of the frickin' show. Now, we have to preface, this is Freddie Prinze Jr. giving his, I guess you could say, thoughts on this as a fan perspective, being there live in the building, thinking that Seth changed this on the fly, thinking that Seth actually was just like, screw this, I'm not doing the segment, and walked off. That's not fact. That's not fully known. This is just, again, his perspective as far as what he saw in the building as a fan in the audience that day. Now, Worked Wrestling has a slight update from this as they tweeted out the following, and we're going to pull that tweet up on the screen as well. Worked Wrestling did tweet out, quote, "Squashing any rumors, Rollins currently has no plans to leave WWE. One of the driving points is the amount of time he gets to spend with his family while on the road, and he isn't looking to change that." There we go. It doesn't look like any of this is going to lead to Seth leaving the company. And again, take the Freddie Prinze thing with a grain of salt, because that's not him having direct knowledge, but just what he and his co-host Jeff Dye think happened while they were there live in the crowd. Now, one thing that seems like it's not happening anytime soon is the big proposed Gunther Brock Lesnar match that some said may have been planned for SummerSlam, as it doesn't look like that's the case. In the latest edition of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, Dave Meltzer reported that Lesnar vs. Gunther isn't being planned for SummerSlam, or anytime soon, actually. As Meltzer wrote, "Right now, there are no plans for Lesnar vs. Gunther at SummerSlam or Lesnar vs. Gunther anytime soon. Of course, that can change because it is a viable match. But Lesnar is scheduled on the SummerSlam card, and there is already a direction that isn't Gunther." Now, Meltzer didn't give any update on exactly what that direction for Brock at SummerSlam is, only that it's not Gunther. So maybe the match happens next year at WrestleMania. That'd be pretty dope. That'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty awesome. And the last actual news story that we do have for you today is, well, Dom almost went to NXT. WWE, we saw Dominic Mysterio and his WWE Hall of Fame father, Rey Mysterio, battle it out at WrestleMania, and the two are still ingrained in storyline. Yet, things almost went a completely different route for the young Mysterio. Dave Meltzer wrote in the latest Wrestling Observer newsletter, quote, "While there is no chance of this happening now, before the decision to start the Rey vs. Dominic program, there were serious thought given to sending Dominic to NXT. And I mean, I wouldn't have been against it. I wouldn't have been like, oh, don't do that. He's already a main roster superstar. Blah, blah. No. Dominic could have fully benefited from going to NXT. But as we've seen, he fully benefited from A, working with his father, and B, being in Judgment Day around 3 other great performers and learning so much. But it is interesting that there was thought given to sending him to NXT, which would have been cool. Could have made him a top guy, maybe give him the North American Championship, and then eventually maybe have Dom challenge for the NXT title. I don't know if you put the NXT title on Dom, but have him challenge for it for sure would have been really cool. And now, then the last thing we're going to talk about is actually a potential spoiler for tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. So I'm going to pop the spoiler And I've been muted. What the hell? How long have I been muted, guys? That's bad. That's bad, yeah. All right, as far as the spoiler does go, Fightful writes the following pertaining to Shinsuke Nakamura's return, stating, as rumored, Shinsuke Nakamura is scheduled to start a program with Karrion Kross on Friday's SmackDown. WWE had a Nakamura tarot card produced for it. So there we go. Looks like tonight they may start some sort of a program with Shinsuke Nakamura and Karrion Kross. And the spoiler goes off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 1. Spoiler over. And that's all we got. That is going to wrap up the wrap-up. I do want to say I'm sorry for the technical difficulties with the stream going down and then coming back up and then maybe getting muted and this and that. I don't know what the hell's going on, but we'll have it all fixed before tonight's SmackDown. And speaking of tonight's Friday Night SmackDown, 2 things so far been announced for the show. Let's pull those up on the screen for you guys. I don't think they've announced anything else since earlier today. They have. More has been announced for SmackDown. So let's jump right into it. All right, guys. More has officially been announced for SmackDown. So let's check all that out right here. WWE has announced a number of different things now. Pull this up on the screen. So originally, all that was announced was Shinsuke Nakamura's return and Xavier Woods versus LA Knight. But now we do know Santos Escobar of the LWO battles the Judgment Day's Damian Priest. Also, the WWE is stating that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez will take part in a special championship celebration tonight on the show. So now we know of 4 things for tonight's Friday Night SmackDown. With that, guys, that's going to wrap everything up. I do want to say thank you if you're watching live, whether that's youtube.com/Pro Wrestling Unlimited or twitch.tv/PW Unlimited, or if you're watching later on YouTube or listening later on podcast services all around the globe like Stitcher, Spotify, Google Pod, Apple Pod, Anchor, iHeartRadio, and so much more. Remember, we will be back tonight following Friday Night SmackDown. So have a great rest of your Friday, and hopefully I see you guys back here tonight. Have a good one, guys.